Hello and welcome to Roll on the Adventure. In this podcast, we're going to be creating tabletop role-playing games. The plan is we're going to create a game over the next few hours, then we're going to spend a couple of sessions playing it, and then we're going to do a big post-mortem about it, take it apart, see what worked and what didn't, and come up with a better game. We're going to be releasing these games as PDF files, both the draft version for you to play along while we're playing, and as a final version for you to take away and hack to pieces and have your wicked way with. I hope you enjoy the show, and let's get cracking on the first episode of Roll on the Adventure. This is the bit where we have the intro. If we had an intro. That's probably going to stay in, right?
Crowd all cheering.
Is that the new intro?
That's the intro.
Singing off key and out of time with each other.
Yeah, that's staying in. Right.
Oh God.
So, if you'd like to introduce yourselves, fellow singers, along with the intro.
Well, I am Molly. I was the backing singer for that intro. I have been role-playing since I was 4 years old. My mum needed something for me and my brothers to do while she went shopping, so she used to dump us on my cousin. I have made games, ran games, all sorts of stuff. But at the moment, I'm actually prepping for the next weekend where I will be being a GM for hire. I'm going to be doing live games at a show. And I've been doing that as kind of a side hustle for a little while, and it's starting to kick off.
Nice.
Living the dream.
Indeed, living the dream.
Chris?
Okay, my name's Chris. I've been running and playing games for probably about 15, 20 odd years now. Do tend to run quite a lot of shortish games, mostly sort of 4 to 10 odd sessions. So it tends to be a lot of those rather than longer running games. Generally very heavily narrativist, lots of making things up and pretending that was not what was meant to happen.
Awesome.
Yeah, be interesting to see how this ends up. Hopefully we'll end up with something interesting.
Cool. Dimitri?
Hi, I'm Dimitris. I'm originally from Greece. I've been living in the UK for the past 2 years. I've been developing Frontier, medium crunch sci-fi RPG with a strong retro atmosphere. I'm quite the opposite of Chris in the fact that I'm pretty much into mainstream games, medium crunch, a lot of dice involved. So let's see how this works.
Okay. And I'm Dave. I'm going to be your host for this session. I've been playing games for quite a lot of years now. I don't want to go into it. I'm a video games programmer by trade. I run quite a lot of games at anime conventions, and I'm our group's Forever GM. I'm running a couple of campaigns at the moment, one of which I wrote just for the players that are in it.
Yeah, just on that point of order. So I'm a Forever GM. You're a Forever GM. Chris?
Most of the time, GM.
Okay. And Dimitri?
Well, actually, I'm recently started playing again.
Burn him, shun him, build the Wicker Man.
For the past 3 months, but I'm rolling into being Forever GM again, so nothing lasts forever.
The other side of the GM screen for once.
It was fun. Well, it was my first experience with D&D 5th edition, so that was cool.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so the genre for this time that we're going to be exploring is going to be a zoo in the future where the exhibits are people. I got a few ideas about how that might turn out. Who wants to go first?
Tell you what, you can go first. First show, your show.
Okay. My idea for it was that it's going to be some sort of post-apocalyptic future thing where it's mutants and all the pure blood humans are kind of in a zoo because all the mutants have crazy powers and weird abilities that basically make them very strange and different, and they're no longer quite human. And so that's my idea. That's something that I'd like to explore with this. Not quite post-humanity, but not quite degenerate humanity either.
Yeah, so mutants that have made a society rather than Mad Max.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Want me to go next?
Anybody?
Okay, I'll go next. My idea was that basically the ability to resurrect people from the past had been created, off in the far future, and they basically made like human zoos as per the old school one from like the Victorian era, where they literally like got tribesmen and had them live in zoos.
See, I've heard of that, but was that a big thing or?
Yeah, it was surprisingly big. Like, there's stuff if you Google it, there's stuff on it.
Cool.
Yeah, but yeah, basically, so what they do is they have the 80s exhibit. So they've resurrected a whole load of people from the 80s, and they have to live in this like stereotypical nightmare of the 80s and be, zoo animals.
All right.
Yeah, so like the different eras get different exhibits.
If they actually resurrected people, people could actually, player characters could actually be, some sort of celebrities in this, not just ordinary Joes, perhaps, you could have.
I like the idea that the process is not perfect. So like they go, we've brought back Adolf Hitler. And actually it's just a random guy that was called Adolf Hitler. It's not the Adolf Hitler. It's just it's like, that's close enough. No one will know.
Yeah, so they have to now pretend to be Hitler.
Yeah, pretend to be Hitler, but not actual Hitler. Like comedy, we're not quite sure about what happened at World War II, so we know he had a silly little mustache.
Feels like Night at the Museum. This one,
kind of, yeah.
Chris, anything you want to throw in here? It appears that we can't hear Chris, so we're just going to have to keep going for now.
Okay, Dimitri.
So yeah, my idea was basically that the game didn't have a specified setting, so people could shake it up between different campaigns. Essentially, I'm pretty sure that we can include different versions. Basic idea that came to mind when Purple just told me about it is, having aliens abduct humans. So perhaps there's other forms of sapient aliens in other enclaves as well. So you can, shake things up a bit. And
another species.
Yeah, like sapient species, but aliens, not exactly humans or close enough.
Are you thinking like Star Trek, everyone looks human with bits glued on, or are you thinking unknowable type alien?
Basically, there's this really cool idea in the Thundercats, the remade series, where they have all sorts of humanoid hybrid people. So they have the felines, they have the fish people, they have the mermans, and what have you. So that could be a thing.
All right. So would these be sort of species of mutant or like divergent human subspecies?
I think that it would be to the game master's choice to find a background for them. But
yeah, because I really like my aliens weird and unknowable, but I don't know if this is the place to push that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's all right.
I think we've got the idea that we need some sort of humanity to the keepers and things. So I'm not going to push my aliens should be super weird type thing. I'll wait for another game for that.
And another thing is, thinking about if humans are alone in this, or there's, animals with them, pets, animals of farm animals, or things
so
like
we're
that.
just lumped in with the cows.
That could be quite interesting. It's just like a broad swathe of, it's like a top-down slice of the Earth's ecosystem.
Yeah, including like cryptids that we didn't know existed.
Yeah. It's like oh God, why are there tigers in the cage? Well, you're an omnivore, it's a carnivore, so it makes sense to put you together. You can eat its leavings. But it's a tiger.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think they're having a motley selection of different inhabitants could be really interesting. So, yeah.
Chris, are you alive?
It wouldn't be a first episode without some technical difficulties, would it?
Yes.
For reference, we had to re-record some stuff already because I forgot to turn the recording on. What was that?
That was me sighing at having to do the re-record.
I wasn't sure if it was a sigh or
or just the
some sort of weird
rage
microphone
static
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Molly is so angry the static is infecting the internet.
Okay. So what I might have to do is stop, and then we'll start again, and not from the beginning, but we'll splice in
From the
stuff.
next section.
Yeah, we'll splice in from the thing about the tigers.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Is that okay?
Yep.
So, Dimitri, is there anything you think we should really include in this game?
Well, I want to think about the edges of the human area of the zoo. Like, how is there a wall? Is there a laser beam? Is there just empty space? Is there something that prevents humans, like natural boulder, or something that feels like a natural thing?
I think feels like a natural thing's a really cool idea there. I like the idea that a lot of this is fake and dressed up to look natural.
Okay, but is it good enough? Is it good enough that the inhabitants have to kind of? Is the reason why you're trying to escape? You figured it out. You've escaped the Matrix.
Ooh, Chris?
I'd assume it'd be more like kind of a Wild West type town where you have the front, and then it's really obviously fake as soon as you look round the side, because it's a zoo for people to come and look at rather than an actual full-on living environment. So figuring out that it's fake is not probably massively hard. It's more you're faced with post-apocalyptic captors. Escaping is a bit hard.
If you know you're not Hitler, then finding out that a lot of other stuff is a lie isn't going to be a big jump.
Yeah,
all I can think is the Planet of the Apes musical thing. Oh look, I was wrong. I was Stalin all along. Sorry, carry on.
But yeah, that's my basic thing that I would like to explore in such a game. And perhaps is it see through, or do you know you're in a zoo? How this works, that sort of thing.
I like the idea that the default is that they know something's wrong, but not necessarily quite the scale of it or something.
Okay.
Perhaps there's this thing where they're isolated by water, for example, and there's this dome that shows the sky, but the sky
a bit like Truman Show.
I was about to say that.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking of Mockingbird and the what's the franchise name for this? Oh my god!
I know which one you mean.
The Hunger Games. Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
So you have a dome around you that shows. Perhaps it shows the same thing on repeat, and so you can notice that the clouds are exactly the same during a specific time of day, and it sort of helps you understand that there's something fishy here, or something in that direction anyway. Yeah.
Do you think the visitors from the zoo to the zoo would be interacting with people in that circumstance?
Actually, I quite like the idea that like the old like VR downloading yourself thing. Some of the people in the human part of the zoo are aliens that have downloaded themselves, like experience how the animals live kind of thing. So it's like, wow, Steve's really weird. It's like, that's just what Steve's like. And it's like, hello, humans. I enjoy my flesh.
I enjoy putting things in my mouth and eating them like humans do.
I too require nourishment. Isn't that amusing? Ha, ha. Ha, ha.
The pretenders.
Yeah.
Invasions of the body snatchers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Chris, do you want to whack an element in there?
So I was thinking in terms of kind of, as Moni was saying, interaction with the zookeepers / visitors of they're probably not going to like it if you're too obviously acting out of your role and knowing that something's going on. Whereas if you kind of act as they think you should act, if it's not how you actually would act, they will kind of want to encourage that. So kind of if you're hamming up or really obviously being how they think you should act, they'll reward you with treats and stuff. Whereas if you go off piece somewhere, you'll be punished or bad things will happen. So at kind of a player level, it's basically you'd probably have a feedback loop of if you're doing things that are fun and entertaining the other players, there's some kind of communal pool or whatever where they give you points or resources, something like that, or the GM just rewards you depending on how it goes.
Mona?
I see. I was wondering if it was more like, you have to play up their perception of what you are. So it was like
Yes.
we were having real problems stabilizing our millennial population, and then we introduced Tinder to them, and now we can't stop them from breeding.
I was going to say Tide Pods and keep eating them, but yeah, the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
This is
basically.
stupid. No one actually does this, but they think we do. God damn it. And yeah, so if you're kind of, as I say, hamming it up in your given role, even if it's completely obviously stupid, you get rewarded for it in whatever way.
The interesting thing is, do we make a distinction between real world stereotypes that the players have come up with and things that we're generating for the aliens, maybe?
It could probably be quite fun to have at least. There's always the danger of obviously getting too far into offensive stereotypes and so forth, but it probably could be fun at least just to have a random table of aliens believe that people do X, Y, Z, and just have a random table of like eat radiators or do other random strange things. And
a bit like Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, where the judge wants to see things.
so
it's
it's
like,
just important.
Today's visitors want to see a race war. It's like, well, they don't know what race is, so does that mean we just pretend we're at war while running in a big circle? Like,
Yes.
Oh man, that could be really interesting. Try to get those strange linguistic things, linguistic missteps when the aliens misunderstand something. I'm calling them aliens. It's like, are we gonna go with aliens or sort of post-human time travelers or the mutants thing?
I think if we just call them, like, for sake of this podcast, if we just call them the other until we or the others until we've
we can nail that down later.
The Keepers. Yeah. The Keepers is a cool name.
The Keepers.
Yeah, Keepers, yeah.
Yeah, as far as the PCs are concerned, they're keepers, they're in charge of you. That's about as much as you would know.
I like that it's very unknown.
The element I was thinking was kind of the point of the keeper design. So kind of building off of the mutants or even the aliens style of thing, what it is each player writes down like 2 or 3 mutations or unique details and gives them to the GM, and then the GM selects a portion of them. So the group doesn't know what the aliens can do until they actually, until they make contact with the enemy.
Yes. And because it's probably going to be quite a while between potentially quite a while between starting the game and actually coming face to face with one of the keepers.
Yeah, and then arguably, if they're powerful enough to, lock up people in the zoo and all of that lot, there's going to be the real problem of, if you see a keeper, are you going to get, are you going to get put down for being, one of the baby boomers got out again. They're ornery buggers. Once they know they can escape, we're going to have to put him down,
Yeah.
I'm thinking some sort of list of questions maybe that you do at the beginning, and then you answer each of those questions from what your character believes. And then then the GM takes them and permutes them.
Okay, that could work.
Because you probably have some standard givens like the keepers are fairly powerful, they're in charge, ... But the actual mechanics of how they're in charge or what they do if you get out of line, as you say, would vary a lot.
If I misbehave, I get ...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a nice idea of doing like an in media res scene and then stopping to analyze it afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also another way to have character variation. Perhaps there are factions that have different beliefs about the keepers.
Mm.
Yeah.
Not. I've got to say, I'm not a massive fan of factionalizing the humans. I think it gives the PCs not as enough reasons to work together. It gives them reasons to be divided.
Yeah, actually, that is a good point. And as we all know, herding cats is trivial in comparison to getting players to work together.
Yeah.
True.
Mm.
But it can serve in some sort of background thing. So I believe in the keepers are basically artificial intelligence, or I believe the keepers are aliens or something.
You
Yeah.
could kind of have a couple of default. This is a default to go with. If you don't want to do it, here's some suggestions for how to do your own kind of thing.
Mm.
Awesome. Right. One thing I'd kind of like to explore, again, it's one that we're not, like, I don't know what the answers will be, and I think it's going to be different for every zoo. The reasons why you're there. Are you there for entertainment, research, something, or is it utterly something unknowable? I think that would be an interesting thing to do, to bring up as one of, at least as one of the questions. So an idea for the motivation, and I'm thinking it might be like a vote thing. Like the players vote, but they don't know what everyone else voted.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're going to end up with quite an interesting kind of collaborative, but no one quite knows which bits have been collaborated on setting.
Yeah, I like
where everyone
that.
kind of has some idea of what's gone into the pot, but nobody knows what the actual outcome is.
I really like that as an idea.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the weaknesses sometimes of stuff like Dungeon World and things like that, where you do a lot of building.
My only concern with that is, like, I've been recently running quite a bit of Dungeon World. And one of the problems I have found is that, well, it's Let's Pick on Ben is the name we have for it, because we have a player in our group who that basically whenever there's the the negative link type thing, it is always the negative link is with Ben. Always.
I'm thinking though that you put things into a pot and the GM picks from them.
Yeah, that's the one I would like
that.
to push. Yeah, is
Yeah,
basically that it goes to the GM and the players know what's gone to the GM.
Yeah.
But not what the
Yeah, but no one knows what's true. Yeah, until it hits.
And another idea would be to have some sort of, so you have 4 questions, let's say, and the players can do that, but they can only know one of these. So perhaps they know who their keepers are, but don't know anything else. Or perhaps they choose to know why they're there, or perhaps they choose to know, haven't really thought of that far.
Like what's expected of them, or
or how to behave, how to game the system. But you have this sort of, I've written it in my notes right now, like the uncertainty principle. Like the more sure you are about the identity of your keepers, perhaps you're less sure about who you are yourself, or something like that.
We could always auction off like roles in the game. Like you've got like your standard roles in a Prison Break type thing. You've got like the tough guy, you've got the cunning guy, you've got the guy with the contact face on the outside. That kind of thing. And you've got the mastermind, or just a guy who knows a detail that no one else does.
I was just thinking, if we got the questions for them, what you could say is, so one player is set to be the leader of the group, by group consensus, and then they decide which question which player gets the correct answer to, and then they get the last remaining question. Do you get what I mean?
I think that's one to come back to.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I'm not sure about the whole leader, like assigning your party leader.
Yeah, true.
I in some ways it's really good because the people that tend to lead the party tend to be the people that want to lead the party.
Yeah.
But the person not wanting to lead the party is kind of a trope of this genre. How much do we want to change it, put that onto the player, and how much do we want to keep it just on the character? Because some people are genuinely uncomfortable leading a party.
Oh, I have discovered that one in my most recent game.
Some people are very, very confident leading a party, but probably shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah.
Whereas having a bidding war for it means the person who wants to do everything kind of can't because he'll have to spread his bids thin.
What are they bidding with?
Character points or something, I don't know. We'll work that out later.
Okay.
Kind of depends what other roles there are as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we could revisit.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So one thing that I really like to do when I'm creating games is discuss like a one sentence description of like who is it, what are they doing, where are they, kind of thing. The option I kind of always do is Scooby-Doo. It's a bunch of kids solving mysteries in America, small town America, which tends to sum it up quite well. And I think that's a good thing to have as like a game sort of statement of intent. So I think it'd be good for us to have a bit of discussion about, what we think should be our one for that. Are we going to have any particular requirement on who these people are or who they're supposed to be?
Wanting to escape would probably be a good one because it actually gives them the incentive to game.
I think, the what is going to probably be attempting to escape.
Because in terms of who, we were kind of saying from various different time periods and so forth, so I don't know how limited that would be.
How do you want to describe them? I think that's important. Like, you can describe people, you can describe the same person as some poor loser dragged out of his rightful time, or an impersonator. You could describe them in various different ways, and I think that's something we might want to think about. How do we want to present these characters to the players?
I think the main thing here is relatability. Like, I think we all have in our minds that the basic connection with them is human, just because it imparts a sense of it could be me in that zoo.
So very much an everyman hero type thing.
Yes, I think it would help both with relating to the setting and on the same time, making it more important to escape, because otherwise you could say, it's all right, I'll stay here, or if you don't feel really connected to the character.
So we're thinking more kind of, as you say, normal people rather than famous people or particularly amazing or fantastic people.
I think one thing we are in danger of, because this is unfortunately our personalities, is we don't want to abstract too much, because otherwise, unless you're inside our heads, the game will become unmanageable to run.
Yeah,
true.
So sticking with the idea of like you make a stereotypical trope character who is an everyman, something about the zoo or the keepers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Try and keep it nice and bullet pointy, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, we can expand on this later. I'm looking at like a sort of a simple phrase to describe these people.
Okay, well, there would be, everyman stereotypes from different periods of time in my head.
From across time,
Yeah.
The thing is, are we going to do the thing where they're mostly pretending to be the stereotypes, and they've got like a hidden life behind the scenes, or are we gonna stay away from that. I don't know if it's overcomplicating things, having those two aspects.
I like the idea of the hidden life because that sets. If someone wants to be lazy, it sets a very easy reason for why they want to escape, which is just, I am sick of having to pretend to be an 80s business guy.
Yeah.
I want out.
Yeah.
My English could be failing me, but like something like disenfranchised or disillusioned or something, in that sort of word.
So they're like disillusioned disillusioned actors, or I don't know.
Actually, no, that'd be a very good way of putting it. They are effectively, they're like like the thing about, there was the pianist that the Russians found, the German pianist who had to play until he couldn't play anymore, and then they shot him. So if you stop pretending to be the role you're supposed to act, you get sent for reevaluation
again. Yeah.
Yeah. You go to the farm.
Yeah, I really like that idea. Yeah, we're just gotta come up with a phrase. So keep bouncing ideas. So we'll come up with a good pithy one.
Disillusioned entertainers escape from a zoo.
Yeah. Like disillusioned press ganged actors or something.
But that sort of implies that it's common knowledge. I think that our protagonists just are enlightened. Is enlightened a good word for that?
Enlightened is a good one.
Yeah.
Woke.
Connotations.
It's actually quite tricky trying to nail it down to something nice and easy.
It is, and I think it's worthwhile though.
Yeah, because they'll make our lives a lot easier. So let's go through the things we like first. So zoo, yes.
Yep.
Yeah. We like the time stereotypes thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We like the idea that you're not actually they're all actors pretending to be stereotypes from that time period. We like that.
You've got the time period zoo.
Yeah. And you're an actor, like basically pretending to be a quote unquote famous person that the keepers think you are. So then your reason to escape, like the default mode for the reason to escape is you're sick of pretending to be, Stalin, when actually you're called Keith, So that's good. And then the players kind of pseudo building the world so that they can they set kind of what the keepers are like, and what they know is another thing we quite like. So trying to nail that down into a single sentence would be like disenfranchise actors from a futuristic stereotype zoo attempt to escape to.
I think temporal stereotype zoo is a wonderful phrase.
To be fair, doesn't that sound? That sounds like an incredible finishing move from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So is that? Well, there we go. We got the name of the game.
I think that actors doesn't stick right with me. I like the idea of a specimen. Not really actors.
They've not been. As I understand it, they're not being recruited as actors as such. It's more their captors are
they've kind of got whatever. Yeah, they've gone like, oh no, our Hitler died. Well, get one that looks like him.
Yes. It's more that they're not really understanding or not really very good rather than actually looking for actors. So, as Dimitri says, specimen is possibly closer.
So, I think it's a different word, specimen and actor, and there's some way to find a middle ground there.
It's trying to get the right fit of a word, and we can't really call them like specters or ectomins. That's not going to work.
Yeah, people didn't know what we're talking about.
I don't know. I quite like the collective what the when it comes to people shouting those words at a convention with no context.
The idea of mistaken identity is possibly something that probably used to pick a word.
But they straddle the middle ground between being a specimen and an actor. I suppose it's it's trying to get that motivation of fear of I have to do what the aliens want, otherwise I get sent to the farm.
I mean, we could just hyphenate specimen actor.
Yeah, that works if nothing else.
Yeah, because the actors by itself feels like primetime adventures,
Yeah.
You're in charge of your destiny, and yeah.
So you're disillusioned specimen actors attempting to escape from the time zoo where you've been imprisoned.
Time zoo. I like the idea of a time zoo as a word, as a branding thing.
I mean, if you time safari, it sounds like a cool thing, but it sounds like more in the wild.
And more that sounds Victorian guys with elephant guns shooting T-Rexes to me.
Well, Time Safari sounds like you're the ones going to see crazy cool stuff rather than the show that's being put on for other people to look at.
Okay, so I've got disillusioned specimen actors escaping from the time zoo where they have been imprisoned.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah. Good.
Right.
Decent summary.
Let's rock that then. Right. Next up. So now we've got that. What do you guys think that means for the things that you've put forward earlier? Let's start with Chris. What do you think that means for your performing monkey type thing? How does that show a new light on it?
So we still got the same basic theme of you have a role you need to perform, otherwise bad things of some degree happen. We probably want to establish quite what those bad things are, and on the flip side of that, if you're doing what you should, beyond not getting possibly murdered or killed or whatever, do you get extra good stuff? Like if you've been put on there to be 80s business guy and you're totally rocking the massive shoulder pads and whatever, do they give you some extra food or some treats or something?
I think the problem is if the intent is for the players to escape,
I suppose
kind of by default they're going to try and be resisting,
Yes.
I think the other thing is maybe they give you what they think you want.
Yes.
Oh, so the 80s business guy gets money, but he's actually I haven't
spend
eaten
it on anything.
Yeah, and I want food.
Yeah.
It's literally just like bricks of
just
dollar
living
bills,
off whiskey and
great.
cocaine.
What the hell?
Yeah, they're just giving bricks of cocaine and bricks of dollar bills and bricks of suits.
A brick of suits. Right, that's really cool. Next up, the Everyman Heroes. Are we still going to go with how are these people selected, Dimitri? Well, how do you think that's going to work?
I think that the main idea here is that perhaps they have been born in the zoo. Like this is the 10th or 100th or some generation. Like I don't think that they're really picked at this point. I don't know how others think about this.
So you're like the results of a breeding program.
Maybe it's an artificial breeding program though. They've been created more than natural pregnancies or whatever. I don't know.
Possibly. I do like the idea that they're not just like abductees. Yeah, that's quite good.
Okay.
So is all they know about previous cultures what's been passed down to them through random, not exactly urban myths, but legend and stories of old?
And that, the outside is this wonderful paradise that if you can escape to it, you can live free and not have to eat bricks of suits.
I was going to say, what's the role of myths of the outside? Are we going to have? Is that going to be a strong thing? Do you think?
Well, if you're
wanting to escape, sorry, carry on.
No, it's all right. If you have writing in the zoo, then you have all this sort of collaboration, and perhaps writing can be banned by the keepers, and it's really a secret. If you want to pass along that there's something fishy going on here, you have to find a way to do it in secret, perhaps. So all these you can have artifacts or clay tablets or things like that just showcase, or writings in caves or in buildings or something, because if you can massively express yourself by writing, it creates a revolution really fast.
I've got an idea that maybe the keepers don't really understand it. Maybe, like, they don't understand how powerful writing is. They think it's just a quaint thing that humans do.
Oh, like, oh look, it's drawing.
Yeah, whereas like they just use telepathy or something.
Yeah, that could be like help separate the keepers from humans.
Yeah, I think there's got to be that separation, and also that sort of like looking down on people atmosphere. They don't think we're capable of anything, so why would they bother checking?
A bit like the Battlefield Earth thing of, I forgot what they're called, the cycloids.
I cannot remember.
Yeah, they didn't realise that humans could actually talk to each other. They just thought they were animals.
Yeah.
I
think that's the whole thing of them massively misinterpreting what humans are was one of the good bits of that book, and I think that is something that we should probably take. In the same way that if you look at something like any sort of like zoo escape movie, like kids movies, if you look at the Madagascar penguins breaking out of an enclosure in the spin-off thing, it's because people don't think they're capable of teamwork.
Yeah, they don't credit them with the abilities.
Yeah, and I think the idea of not being credited with the ability is a really good thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
Right then, I think it's about time to move on to like our sort of plot archetype. So the archetypical session. You spend a bit of time, and we're going to discuss what's expected to happen in like an example session. I don't want to say an average session because that sounds a bit depressing. But in a session, what is an example session that we might go for?
So right at the beginning, we mentioned some kind of initial setting up areas of giving the GM, everybody basically throw some ideas in. So to start with, you'll probably be doing, assuming this is either a one shot or the start of a longer scenario or whatever, you'd probably be doing that to establish whatever the rules for the setting you're using in this particular instance are.
Do we want to do that first? I mentioned earlier they're doing like an in media res thing and sort of building off that. So we started like some sort of absurd
It'd probably be
situation.
useful to do that either before or along with more standard character generation stuff, just so you don't make, or so you do make a character that fits in at least with what is known. Given from what we said earlier, it sounds like it could potentially vary quite a lot of, or rather it's very much up to the players of what's actually going on in the setting overall. So you probably want to make sure you kind of fit into that a bit, if that makes sense.
I mean, doing a scene where the players are both players and their characters are aware that they're acting could be very interesting. But do you think it'd be too difficult as an intro?
I think one thing we have to consider is how many layers the zoo might have, because we're gonna have sessions like in the areas designated for humans, but at some point, finding are they just finding for an exit and the game ends from there, or perhaps there's a middle area between the enclave and where the keepers actually are.
I think if you do it a bit like the old Don Bluth movies, where they get to the end and it fades to black. So you kind of get to think.
It leaves it quite unknown whether this is really out.
Yeah, because the interesting bit is the escape. What happens after that is either deeply depressing or boring.
Yeah, that it's from the type of the game focuses very much. You're in this crazy time space zoo thing. You need / want to get out. What happens after that?
Ain't gonna be particularly interesting.
Or if it is, you'd need another set of game mechanics and stuff to model it.
Yeah, whereas because that's the thing, obviously we've only got a limited amount of time to sort out how to build this game. So trying to build a world-spanning expandable game, we're just going to lose.
Yeah, definitely. I think keeping the scope reasonable is a good way forwards.
So if all the action happens in the enclave, what are the challenges?
Yeah, I was thinking this is what we're going to set up now. Like, what's the archetype of a session? What do we start off? What do we present with them with in this archetype session?
So
I'm okay. Molly's has probably claimed 80s business guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a punk.
Okay.
So what are you guys gonna take? Just pick a thing.
I'll be a Victorian gentleman.
A Victorian gentleman and
80s programmer.
Okay, so you're a nerd.
Yes.
Cool. So are we going to do like an intro scene for each person of them doing their thing, or because two people are from the 80s, like a combo scene, like intro scene?
I would probably do it that you do the initial scene is you in your enclosure, and the other players are are telling you what you have to, so it's like kind of a bit of a role play humiliation thing where the other players are like, do a trick, and you describe what you're doing. And then after you've done your bit, it goes on to the next player, and the actual game begins
after that.
Yeah, with the zoo closing and you guys, doing your Penguins of Madagascar bit.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really interesting.
Shouldn't all characters be from the same slice of life, though?
I don't know. I quite like the idea that, because if they can communicate with each other after the zoo closes, then it's more you're playing pretend almost. So it's like, you are pretending to be a Victorian gentleman, but because you're like part of the captive breeding program, you've seen technology. You just have to pretend you don't know what it is when the keepers are around.
Okay.
I think the general idea we're kind of getting is the keepers are not as good at this as they possibly think they are.
Yeah.
It's a bit like One Punch Man, they're so powerful they don't realize it,
Yeah.
They don't really look at people that way. They just assume things.
Quite possibly to the degree of dressing somebody else up like you and they don't quite realize it isn't you.
I just got visions of you steal a staple gun and you staple someone into your 80s business suit. So when the zookeepers notice that you're gone, they start searching the zoo for your suit, basically. They don't understand that the clothes can be different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I like the whole misconceptions thing. I think that's something that we definitely want to visit in the mechanics section. So
it starts off with each player being in their enclosure, like performing for the crowd.
So then everyone gets an intro scene.
Yep. Then the zoo closes, and you meet up to discuss, because tonight's the night you're going to escape. So you discuss.
I'm not sure if it's tonight or we want to do like the legwork bit.
Yeah, I mean, or you could do it as like a flashback type.
Yeah.
Tonight's the night. But then the next scene is there's a flashback for what each of you had to do to prepare.
How you got hold of the widget that lets you open the gate, that lets you get through to the control room.
How did you get the spare suit and the staple gun that you're going to use to staple the guy into the suit?
I mean,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
I did one, like, I've run a spy game a couple of times where it starts off where you have like done the mission, and you each describe something that's weird about your character now, and then we have to justify all the things.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I think there should definitely be a chance of failure in this, where there really wasn't in the other.
Yeah. Well, you could have it
Yeah.
like, you could do the old twist where it's like, okay, so, Mike, have you got the remote control to the shutters from, because it looks like an 80s TV remote.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, about that. And then he goes into why it went wrong, and he goes, but I got an 80s TV remote. You kind of fail forwards, like you don't fail in the you fail to succeed at your goal, but you end up with a different, lesser widget.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, how do we set that up? How do we?
That'll probably be within the gameplay loop rather than the scene plan. Yeah.
Yes, the fact that you try stuff and it may or may not succeed.
So we do. Tonight is the night.
Yeah.
Then we skip backwards and do a bunch of the game loop, and then we go back to tonight is the night, and then have the attempt.
Yeah. And if you fail the attempt, you could have it that you rewind to the tonight is the night. You've gone on to the next time you're trying to escape, or you could just have it fade to black there.
Could be a sort of pinky in the brain thing where you fail to escape every time.
I don't know if I want it set in stone, but I do like the idea. I think we've got to decide on the mood.
Or you could have the same gameplay loop, but if you want it as dark and horrible, then you get captured by the overlords and disappeared, and whatever happens. If you want it a bit more comedic, it's okay, they've managed to capture us again. Well, we'll try in a week or so.
You could have it be modal, so it's like you can be inconvenienced, which is like the penguins of Madagascar. You can fail, which is like the POW breakout. You get thrown in solitary, and then 6 months later, you can try again. Or you can suffer, which is where if you fail, the aliens capture you, you get sent to the farm, and you never come back.
I like the idea that you decide which one before you start that section of the loop.
Yeah.
You set your stakes.
Paranoia is like that.
Okay, so that seems to be about the good gist of how an archetypical session will go.
Yeah. We'll go on to set pieces next. So a specific scene that you could see happening in this game that you think would exemplify what this game is about. Don't worry about the exemplify bit at the moment too much. We'll have a chat about that scene and see how it all pan out.
Okay.
Oli, would you like to?
Sure. So for set pieces, I'm thinking that one of the ones is obviously getting the widget or the doodad that you need. So it's like one of the set pieces that kind of has to be in every one is getting that vital MacGuffin. So it's like figuring out what's the thing we need, how can we use it, are there any alternatives, where is it, and how do we get it? So it's like using the old one, we need the staple gun, which is in the office. In order to get into the office, we need the keys, or we can just get a brick and smash the window. But
one of them's obvious.
Exactly, yeah. But if we can't get the staple gun, well, if we can get some staples and a rock, we're kind of halfway there.
So it's all that make do thing. So the question is not can we do the thing, it's like how much of a mess do we make doing the thing?
And if you do well, you can do the thing really good. A bit like how
with no mess.
Yeah, a bit like how Dungeon World does with its things where, like, the fighter, when he does lift bend bars, depending on how well you do, you get to choose, like, does it destroy it? Does it make lots of noise? Is it done quickly? Can you repair it? So you kind of, you choose a number of holds.
Yeah.
That's normally like pick 3 of 5 type thing, isn't it? You do it quickly, you do it quietly.
Yeah. And I really like that idea that you can kind of, you're going to get the thing. Like, that's it. That's fine. You're getting the thing. But it might be that you get the thing quicker than you thought, or later than you thought, or it costs you, resources more than you wanted to spend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned spending resources. And I think one of the things we're going to have to visit when we're doing the game mechanics is how do we abstract resources? I think some sort of abstract noise count or something like that as well might be interesting.
Yeah.
It makes tasks harder if the guards are alert.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you can probably do things like make the guards alert by a failure into a success, but at the penalty of increasing their alertness rating or something along those lines.
That's what I was thinking, like having like a sliding scale,
So the role is effectively how much you can get for how much cost.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's quite interesting. I think that's again something to revisit. So we've got the heist to grab the MacGuffin. C. Chris, would you like to do the next scene?
So once you've got the MacGuffin or MacGuffins, there's going to be having to actually what you do with them. So depending on how long the game you want is, you probably have quite possibly several iterations of getting the MacGuffin to get the thing, etc. Once you've got all of those bits together, you'd have the actual, okay, we've got all the stuff we need for what we're planning to do tonight. Now we need to actually do it. So you'd probably be able to, once you've got your points assembled, or, well, resources as it were, and try and use those to actually do whatever you're going to do. So it could kind of be like the culmination of the heist almost, where you've got all of your stuff, you've got your plan, and then you basically see in what way it goes horribly wrong, because the most fun part of a heist.
Have you got an example, maybe?
So say you've managed to get the remote control to open the door to get out of the pen, or at least something that should be able to work at it.
If you jam those paper clips in correctly.
Yeah, you can overload the controls or whatever. So the interesting part is not particularly that in theory, it might technically be able to go fully smoothly, but most time probably won't, because that's kind of dull. So it's trading off. So essentially, the better it goes, the more kind of sacrifice and resources you have to expend. So unless you've managed to get absolutely everything, you're going to have to settle for it going wrong in some way, and then more problems being thrown at you, which you have to overcome. But those would be a lot more kind of short-term things, like someone spots you, what do you do, as opposed to the slightly more longer-term trying to get the objects you need.
So this is the tactical resource expenditure portion.
Yes.
Okay, so would that be a hard and fast thing, though? Would it be like, we have 6 oh crap points, and then after that we have to start burning, life, so to speak? Do you get what I mean?
I kind of see what you mean. Yeah. You start having to put the attempt in jeopardy to succeed, or to get your gain.
From the overall tone and feel we've got so far, it feels like it would probably be, you probably don't have a huge amount of wiggle room with resources. Like even if you're playing in a more comedic Pinky in the Brain style, it's probably, you're still probably going to generally have quite a lot of nights or sessions where you almost get out but don't quite, rather than it being routine to succeed.
Cool.
So yeah, I can see it where you don't, like I say, if you roll really well and come up with a really good plan, you might be able to do it, but quite often you're going to be burning through your resources, then having to cut into your life points or character traits or whatever else you have to play with.
Dimitri, any ideas?
Well, I actually have an idea about how to gain this resource, like this time or this items. We could do a set piece scene where the characters are scrutinized by the keepers in some way, or by visitors or things like that. So if they successfully pretend to be part of the habitat and all that, they could just gain some time or gain some access to some to the thing they spend when they do when they get the MacGuffin or they make the escape. So if they take a lot of time to get the item, perhaps they need to do another scene of pretending to be 80s pop
80s business guy,
or whatever.
I mean, would you be able to use those scenes to regain resources, so you end up with like a seesaw effect? So it's like, okay, we need 2 more oh crap points. Well, okay guys, I'll take the hit and act cute all day today. but
Yeah.
I'm going to be pissy when I finish my shift.
Yeah. This ties into what I was going to suggest, which is the big distraction scene. Because I think that's a real staple of that sort of thing, where the other characters put on a big distraction while someone sneaks off and does something important. Like the thing you can't let fail kind of thing. You can't do it all the time, but it takes people out of their normal actions. But like having a big distraction, I think, is a really a cool thing that I think should be in there. But it ties in really well with what Dimitri mentioned.
So is that effectively a bit like combining the MacGuffin fetch with the risk and all that? That's kind of the combination of all of the things coming together.
Yeah, maybe we could limit the amount that people could do it, or it limits the amount of actions you can take overall, things like that. But I think it's something worth keeping in there. Brilliant. Well, we've got some set pieces, and we'll move on with the next thing very shortly.